The Stormlands. The region is so named for the savage and frequent autumn storms that battered the coast after beginning in the summer sea. The Stormlands were the domain of the Storm Kings of House Durrandon, whose seat was Storm's End, and whose territory in eastern Westeros once was stretched from Cape Wrath to the Bay of Crabs. King Arlan Ferd Durrandon vanquished the River Kings of House Teague, extending the Storm King's domain north to the Neck. For thousands of years the Dornish marches of the Stormlands were the first line of defense against Dornish incursions from the south, so they have strong martial traditions and a number of strong castles. However, the power of the Storm Kings declined over centuries due to the pressure from the Kingdom of the Reach to the west and Dorne to the south. Argilag the Arrogant was the last Storm King, however, as he was slain in the last storm during Aegon Targaryen's War of Conquest. Argilag's lands, titles, sigil, and house wards were given to Orys of House Baratheon, who married Argilag's daughter, Argella Durrandon. Under Targaryen rule, the Baratheon Stormlords continued to battle the Dornishmen until their incorporation into the Seven Kingdoms by King Daeron II Targaryen. And now let's view the houses of Stormlands. House Stedman of Brodach, House Penrose of Parchments. House Penrose gained a significant influence within the royal court after Lord Ronald Penrose married Princess Aelena Targaryen. Ronald Penrose sat on the king's small council as Master of Coin, though it was widely known that his wife Aelena was the one performing the duties of the office. The couple had 4 children together, namely Robin, Lena, Jocelyn, and Joy. Sometime afterwards, a member of House Penrose yet again married a Targaryen when Aelinor Penrose wed Prince Aerys Targaryen, who would become King Aerys I. During the Blackfyre Rebellion, House Penrose remained loyal to House Targaryen. At the crossing of the Mander, Sir Quentyn Ball slew all of Lady Penrose's sons, except for the youngest, whom he spared as a favor to the lady. The wards of House Penrose are, set down our deeds. House Trant of Gallowsgrey. Sir Meryn Trant is a member of King Robert I Baratheon's Kingsguard. The wards of House Trant are, so end our foes. House Tarth of Evenfall Hall. They are one of the main houses sworn to Storm's End. The family rules Tarth, a beautiful island with mountains and waterfalls, high meadows, and shadowed vales. It is called the Sapphire Isle for the striking blue seas in which it sits. Some monarchs keep fleets along the western coast of Tarth, as its mountains shield against storms and make the Straits of Tarth more pacific than the narrow sea of Shipbreaker Bay. Ancestors of House Tarth were once kings, and the head of the family is known as the Even Star, which they claim dates back to the dawn of days. The island of Tarth came under the dominion of the House Durrandon when the Storm King, Durran the Fair, married the daughter of Tarth's king, Edwin Evenstar. The island rebelled 3 times during the reign of the Storm King Dervald the Fat, however. Tarth was the first region of the Stormlands conquered during the Andal invasion, but peace between the Andals and First Man was eventually achieved when the Storm Kings and their bannermen intermarried with the Andals. The Tarths have Andal ancestry and have ties with houses Durrandon, Baratheon, and Targaryen. Morn, a ruined castle on the eastern coast of Tarth, was once the seat of petty kings who were conquered by Storm Kings. Nobles and small folk alike from Tarth claimed descent from Sir Galladon of Morn, also called the Perfect Knight, who was a legendary knight from Tarth. Legends claim that his valor was so great that the Maiden of the Seven fell in love with him. She gave him an enchanted sword, the Just Maid, to demonstrate her love for him. No sword could check the sword's blows, no shield could stop them. According to the legend, Galladon only unsheathed the sword 3 times, not once against a mortal man, for the fight would have been unfair. House Errol of Haystack Hall. During Aegon's conquest, Lords Errol, Buckler, and Fell opposed Orys Baratheon during his march from the Aegon Fort towards Storm's End, but the Storm Lords were forced to retreat when Rhaenys Targaryen had Meraxes set afire parts of what is now the southern Kingswood. House Buckler of Bronzegate. House Fell of Felwood. House Grandison of Grandview. Sir Harlan Grandison was a former knight of the Kingsguard. After dying in his sleep, he was replaced in the Kingsguard by Sir Jaime Lannister. The wards of House Grandison are Rouse Me Not. House Catherine of Fountain. Lord Catherine was originally a Targaryen loyalist during Robert's rebellion. He was captured at the battle at Summerhall, where houses Fell and Grandison had intended to join the forces to his, but Robert Baratheon beat them one by one. Lord Fell was slain by Robert in single combat in the Battle of Summerhall. Lord Catherine eventually came over to Robert's side, but was killed fighting for him at the Battle of Ashford. Lord Rendell Tully cut off his head and sent it to King Aerys II Targaryen. Lord Grandison also joined Robert after he was captured. He was wounded at the Battle of the Trident fighting for Robert and died of his wound a year later. Lord Fell's son, Silveraxe, was captured by Robert and eventually turned to Robert's side as well. House Selmy of Harvest Hall. Located in the Dornish Marches, Harvest Hall is near the eastern border of the Reach. The vicinity of Harvest Hall is arable and produces more crops than most regions of the Stormlands. Arstan Selmy is the current lord of Harvest Hall and is the head of House Selmy. Sir Barristan Selmy is his great uncle. Sir Barristan Selmy, also known as Barristan the Bold, is one of the greatest knights of the Kingsguard. He was in line to inherit the seat of House Selmy, but Barristan gave up his claim after he became a member of the Kingsguard. His cousin married the girl destined for Barristan. At the tourney of Blackhaven, a 10-year-old Barristan Selmy entered the lists as a mystery knight. He was eventually unhorsed and unmasked by Prince Duncan Targaryen, earning Barristan the nickname Bold. Barristan squired for Sir Manfred Swan and was knighted at 16 by King Aegon V Targaryen. He was named to the Kingsguard when he was 23 years old and had the white cloak placed on his shoulders by Sir Geralt Hightower, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Barristan slew Maelys the Monstrous during the War of the Ninepenny Kings. He also rescued Lady Jane Swan and her septa and killed Kingswood Brotherhood bandits leader Sir Simon Toyne in single combat. Barristan won a tourney held at Storm's End, beating Prince Rhaegar Targaryen in the final tilt, and freed Aerys II Targaryen from imprisonment in Duskendale as well. During Greyjoy's rebellion, Barristan led the attack on Old Wick. He was remained a formidable fighter even in his advanced years, winning the championship of a tourney at King's Landing at the age of 57, and unhorsing Sandor Clegane in a tilt in the tourney on Prince Joffrey's name day, and unhorsing men 30 and 40 years his junior in the tourney of the Hand. House Cairn of Nightsong. They ruled from Nightsong and held the title Lord of the Marches, although they did not hold the dominion over the other Marcher lords in the Dornish Marches. The Cairns date back to the Age of Heroes, and they are a family known for creating warriors and singers. They claim their Nightingale sigil has been in 1,000 battles. Brienne of Tarth was promised to the younger son of Lord Brian Cairn, a shy boy with a mole above his lip, but 2 years later a chill caused his death, also taking the lives of Lord Cairn, his wife, and their daughters. This left young Bryce Cairn as Lord of the Marches. Lord Bryce Cairn's shield with its field of nightingales is seen displayed outside his tent during the Hands tourney. He is one of the outstanding knights at the tourney, but is defeated by Sir Jaime Lannister. Bryce Cairn fights in the Battle of the Blackwater on the side of Stannis Baratheon, in which he is slain in single combat by a one-eyed knight, Sir Philip Foot. The late Lord Brian Cairn's bastard, Sir Roland Storm, commands the rearguard that allows Stannis to reach the galleys and flee from the Blackwater. King Joffrey I Baratheon renders the house's keep, lands, titles, and incomes forfeit and given to Sir Philip as the first Lord Foot of Nightsong. Roland Storm still claims Nightsong as a pretender, however. The words of House Cairn were, "No song so sweet." House Dondarrion of Blackhaven. Blackhaven has black basalt walls and a deep dry moat. It is located in the Dornish Marches near the Boneway, controlling the path to Dorne. The Dondarrion line was founded when a messenger from the Storm King was ambushed by 2 Dornishmen while riding on a stormy night. An arrow killed his horse and his sword broke when he fell. When he thought he was doomed, a bright purple lightning bolt struck the Dornishman, killing both. The man was thus able unable to deliver his crucial message on time. For this, the Storm King raised him to lordship and he became the first Lord Dondarrion. Summerhall is a ruined castle in the Stormlands, formerly a lightly fortified castle used by House Targaryen as a summer castle and royal residence. It was destroyed in a great fire. Event was called the Tragedy of Summerhall. Stories tell that Aegon V Targaryen, known as Ag, perished while trying to hatch dragon eggs. His son, Prince Duncan the Small, his friend and Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sir Duncan the Tall, and others of the royal court also perished in the fire. Aegon was succeeded by his second son and heir, Jaehaerys II. Many of the laws, rights, and protections King Aegon V had granted and bestowed upon the small folk were later undone during the reign of King Aerys II by the hand of the king, Lord Tywin Lannister. The Dornish Marches is an area of southern Westeros in the border region between the Stormlands, the Reach, and Dorne. The Marches are predominantly in the southwestern Stormlands and extend east to the Sea of Dorne. The hundreds of leagues of the Marches consist of grassland, moors, and plains, with a portion of the Red Mountains to the east. A road runs south from the ruins of Summerhall in the northern Marches to Ironwood via the Boneway. The Marcher Lords of the Stormlands have a very strong martial tradition and have formidable castles, as they defended against Dornish incursions for thousands of years. Marcher houses include House Cairn of Nightsong, House Dondarrion of Blackhaven, House Selmy of Harvest Hall, and House Swan of Stonehelm. Most of the Marches are now in the Stormlands, aside from two houses of the Reach, the Tarly lands near Hornhill and Starpike, the seat of House Peak, that are also part of the Marches. House Swan of Stonehelm. They are one of the Marcher Lords and rule over the lands surrounding the Red Watch, the region around Stonehelm in the southern Stormlands, where the Red Mountains meet Cape Wrath, a large peninsula of the Stormlands that juts out into the narrow sea. House Swan is an old noble house regarded as proud, powerful, and cautious. They have governed their lands for as long as any can remember. From Stonehelm they control the Slane, a major river route inland to the Stormlands, gaining them much wealth and power. They are probably the second most powerful and influential family in the Stormlands, after the Baratheons. Sir Barristan Selmy squired for Sir Manfred Swan as a boy. House Morrigan of Crow's Nest. House Connington of Griffin's Roost, a house of landed knights, though it was formerly a lordly house, whose lands once extended many leagues west, north, and south of Griffin's Roost, including reaching near to the Rainwood. John Connington was named Hand of the King by the Mad King, Aerys II Targaryen. The previous Hand, Owen Merryweather, had been exiled for his failure to face Robert's rebellion. John Connington was a noted warrior of proven loyalty, being one of Prince Rhaegar's best friends. During the Battle of the Bells at Stony Sept, John wounded Lord Hoster Tully and killed Sir Dennis Arryn, the Darling of the Vale, with an axe. After being defeated by the rebels at Stony Sept, John was stripped of his lands and sent into exile in the Free Cities, where he is said to have drank himself to death. Aerys allowed the Connington lands to remain with John's cousin, Ronald Connington, the Castellan of Griffin's Roost, but Ronald joined the rebellion after the Battle of the Trident. When Robert Baratheon was crowned king after the death of Aerys, he allowed Ronald to keep Griffin's Roost, but the Conningtons lost their lordship, and 9/10 of their land was distributed among neighbors who were more fervent in their support of Robert. House Connington's status thus fell from being a full noble house to landed knights. Through the initiative of Ronald, his son Ronnet was betrothed when he was 16 to 12-year-old Brienne of Tarth. Ronnet rejected her when he met her, however, as he did not find Brienne attractive. Ronnet now rules as the Knight of Griffin's Roost. Small but strong, Griffin's Roost is located on a lofty crag jutting out from the shores of Cape Wrath. The castle lies surrounded by red stone cliffs on three sides, which descend into the stormy waters of Shipbreaker Bay. The land-facing approach is a long natural ridge called the Griffin's Throat. The entrance to the Griffin's Throat is guarded on one end by a gatehouse and by the castle's main gate and two round towers on the other end. The Great Hall contains the carved and gilded Griffin seat, where 50 generations of Conningtons have ruled. The East Tower, the tallest of the castles, offers a view of the surrounding countryside. The castle also contains stables, armory, barracks, and a maester's tower with a rookery. A secret stair beneath the sept's altar of the Mother leads to a bolt hole, while another stair under the northwest tower goes to a hidden cove beneath the crag which appears when the tide is out. A well-provisioned garrison can hold the castle against 20 times as many men. House Seaworth of Cape Wrath. Although their keep is in the Stormlands, they are sworn not to House Baratheon of Stormsand, but to House Baratheon of Dragonstone in the Crownlands. House Seaworth was created after Davos, a common smuggler, broke the Red Vine cordon and smuggled foodstuffs to the starving garrison of Storm's End during Robert's Rebellion. For his bravery in the siege of Storm's End, Davos was awarded a knighthood along with choice lands on Cape Wrath, including a small keep and a forest to hunt in, by Lord Stannis Baratheon. For his years of smuggling, however, Davos lost joints on his left hand. Davos captains Black Bata. He has 7 sons, many of them serving on ships in Stannis' fleet. His wife Maria tends his lands on Cape Wrath. Davos is a man of low birth, born in the wretched flea-bottom ward of King's Landing to a life of hardship. In his youth, he found service on the ship Cobblecat under Roro Ohoris, a Tiroshi smuggler and a pirate. Eventually, Ohoris was caught by the Night's Watch fleet from Eastwatch, where he was executed for trading weapons to wildlings. While impressed by this event, Davos did not refuse to trade with the members of the Night's Watch later. After his time aboard the Cobblecat, Davos made his own way and secured his own small ship, becoming one of the most infamous smugglers of the Seven Kingdoms up until meeting Stannis Baratheon, House Rogers of Amberley, House Wild of the Rain House. During the siege of Storm's End, Sir Gavin Wilde attempted to sneak out of the castle and surrender to the besieging army of Lord Mace Tyrell. He was captured and later died in his cell. House Mertens of Mistwood. The Weeping Town is a market town in the Stormlands. It has a thriving port which handles much of the Stormlands trade. It contains a seat known as the Weeping Tower and is ruled by House Whitehead, whose arms and wards are unknown. The town has stout wooden walls, peaked roofs, and crooked alleys. It is large enough to support 3 inns. It is known as the Weeping Town because it is where the corpse of Daeron I Targaryen was first brought after the king was murdered in Dorne, remaining there for 3 days. House Estermont of Greenstone. Estermonts have strong ties with House Baratheon, King Robert Baratheon, Queen Cersei Lannister, and some of the court, including Sir Jaime Lannister, spent a fortnight at Greenstone. Robert cheated on Cersei with a widowed cousin of his, with whom he used to play with as a child. Cersei believes that it was there that she and Jaime conceived Joffrey Baratheon. Jaime gave the castle the nickname Greenshit. Beside above-mentioned houses of the Stormlands, there are many other, yet scarce is known about them. Though there are 2 houses currently exiled from Westeros. One of those is House Tywin. Sir Terence Tywin was a knight of the Kingsguard who fell in love with Aegon the Conqueror's mistress, Bethany Bracken. When the king found them abed, he had Tywin dismembered piece by piece, while Bethany was forced to watch before meeting her own death. Terence's 2 brothers sought vengeance but were themselves slain by Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight. These series of actions led to the downfall of House Tywin. Simon Tywin was the leader of the Kingswood Brotherhood. Sir Barristan Selmy killed Simon while rescuing Lady Jane Swan and her septa. Barristan misremembered Simon Tywin being the mystery knight that attended the tourney at Storm's End. The last known member of House Tywin was Miles Tywin, known as Blackheart. He was a captain general of the Golden Company, a sellsword company of exiles in Essos. The other exiled house is House Cole. The greatest member of the house was Sir Criston Cole, the son of the steward at Blackhaven, the seat of House Dondarrion. Criston became the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard under Viserys I Targaryen. Although Viserys had wanted his successor to be Rhaenyra Targaryen, Criston placed Aegon II Targaryen on the Iron Throne, becoming Hand of the King, and began the civil war known as the Dance of the Dragons. For that, Criston was named the Kingmaker. In his youth, Criston had won a melee at the tourney at Maidenpool, held to celebrate the ascension of Viserys I Targaryen, drawing the attention of the royal court by knocking Sword Darksister from the hands of Prince Daemon Targaryen. He gave the victor's laurel to the 7-year-old Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. Thereafter, King Viserys indulged Rhaenyra by naming Criston her personal sworn shield. Later, Criston became a member of the Kingsguard. Years later, Sir Criston was still Rhaenyra's champion and constant companion. Lord Commander Sir Harold Westerling died in that year, and Criston was named his successor. It was rumored that Cole had an affair with Rhaenyra. Some say that Sir Criston slipped into Rhaenyra's bedchamber to confess his love, offering to abscond with her to one of the free cities where he would pledge his sword to some merchant prince. But Rhaenyra refused him, saying a Targaryen was meant to be more than the wife of a sellsword, and that if he could forget his Kingsguard vows, he could forget marriage vows. The royal fool Mushroom tells a different tale, that Rhaenyra had been practicing her enticements with her uncle, Prince Daemon, so that she would lose her maidenhead to Criston, a man she loved, rather than her betrothed homosexual cousin, Laenor Velaryon. She failed to seduce Sir Criston. Princess took solace in Sir Harwin Strong. Whatever the veil of it, Cole went from being her staunchest defender to her bitterest foe, and Rhaenyra soon left for Driftmark with Harwin as her new sworn shield. Later, Sir Criston attended the wedding of Rhaenyra to Laenor, which included 7 days of feasting and jousting. Cole fought with Queen Alicent's token, and during a melee led Harwin Strong with a broken collarbone and shattered elbow. Criston's Morning Star also cracked the helm of the Knight of Kisses, Laenor's favorite Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, which he died from 6 days later. After the Dance of the Dragons, in which Greens lost, House Cole fled Westeros. House Baratheon of Storm's End. It is one of the great houses of Westeros, and is the principal house in the Stormlands, which they rule as Lords Paramount of the Stormlands. Their seat, Storm's End, is an ancient castle raised by the Storm Kings from the now extinct House Durrandon. Members of the family tend to be tall and powerfully built, with black hair and blue eyes, as well as strong, square jawlines. They are known for their mercurial tempers. But history of Baratheons is also a history of House Durrandon, the Storm Kings. The line of the Storm Kings dates back to the Age of Heroes, when their kingdom was founded by King Durran I Godsgrief, a legendary hero. According to legend, in the Age of Heroes, Durran won the love of Elenay, the daughter of the sea god and the goddess of the wind. Her divine parents forbade their love, but Durran and Elenay wed despite them. The god's wrath was terrible to behold, destroying Durran's keep on his wedding night, killing all his family and guests. Enraged, Durran declared war on the gods, who replied by hammering his kingdom with massive storms. Each time King Durran built a castle to face the sea, the gods destroyed it. King Durran persisted, building larger and more powerful fortifications, until finally the 7th castle stayed in place and resisted the storms of Shipbreaker Bay. Some believe it is because the children of the forest took a hand in its construction. Others believe that a young boy who grew up to be Bran the Builder advised Durran on its construction. For several centuries before the War of Conquest, however, power of Durrandons had dwindled. They had the kings of the Reach at their west, who nibbled at their domains, and Dornishmen at their south. Harren the Black had taken over the Trident and those lands above the Blackwater Rush. King Argilac Durrandon had managed to stop this decline of land for a while. By the time of the conquest, however, Argilac had grown old, and his prowess at arms had faded. Argilac Durrandon was afraid of the threat of Harrenhal, the king of the Isles and the Rivers. 2 years before Aegon's conquest, Argilac reached out to Aegon Targaryen, Lord of Dragonstone, offering the hand of his only daughter Argella with all the lands east of the God's Eye, from the Trident to the Blackwater Rush, as her dowry. Lord Aegon rejected the offer as he had 2 wives already and did not need a third, and the lands offered had belonged to House War for a generation. He countered with an offer of his own, those lands plus Messie's Hook, and the lands from the Blackwater south to the river Vanwater and the headwaters of the Mander. The pact would be sealed with the marriage of Argella to Orys Baratheon, Lord Aegon's childhood friend and champion. King Argilac angrily rejected the terms, as Orys was rumored to be Aegon's bastard half-brother. Enraged, he had the hands of Aegon's envoy cut off and returned to him in a box with the message, "These are the only hands your bastard shall have of me." This spurred the start of Aegon Targaryen's War of Conquest, where Aegon announced that he would be the only king of the Seven Kingdoms. King Aegon's wife, Queen Rhaenys Targaryen, and his hand of the king, Orys Baratheon, were sent to take Storm's End. In the battle called the Last Storm, Orys slew Argilac Durrandon in single combat, and the remaining Stormlander army fled. At the approach of Orys Baratheon and the Targaryen host, Argella barred the gates of Storm's End and declared herself Storm Queen. When Queen Rhaenys flew Meraxes into the castle to parley, Argella announced that the defenders of Storm's End would die to the last man. However, her garrison refused to share the fate of Harrenhal and revolted, raising a peace banner and delivering Argella to Orys's camp, gagged, chained, and naked. Orys, however, removed the chains with his own hands, wrapped his cloak around her, and gave her food and wine. He spoke to her gently, telling her of her father Argilac's courage in death. Aegon rewarded Orys Baratheon with Storm's End, the rule over the Stormlands, and Argella on his marriage to Argella Durrandon, and to honor Argilac's valor, Orys Baratheon adopted the sigil and the words of House Durrandon as his own. Robert Baratheon's father Steffon served in his youth at the court of King's Landing and became a close friend to his cousin, Prince Aerys Targaryen, later known as the Mad King. He fought in the War of the Ninepenny Kings, where his father, Lord Ormond, died in his arms, slain by Maelys first Blackfyre. After the defiance of Duskendale, King Aerys II Targaryen summoned Lord Steffon to King's Landing and named him to the Small Council. Later, Steffon was sent to Volantis to find a bride for Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. He was accompanied by his wife, Lady Cassana Estermont. They failed their mission and died upon their return when their ship sank in Shipbreaker Bay. Steffon's eldest son, Robert, inherited Storm's End upon Steffon's death, and in the years that followed was betrothed to Lyanna Stark of Winterfell. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, Robert's cousin, disappeared with Lyanna Stark, causing Lyanna's eldest brother Brandon to ride to King's Landing in anger. He was arrested and killed together with his father, Lord Rickard Stark, on the command of King Aerys II. The king then demanded the heads of both Lord Robert as well as Eddard Stark from Lord Jon Arryn, as both men were in the Vale. Arryn refused and raised his banners, marking the start of the war that would become known as Robert's Rebellion. Storm's End is one of the strongest castles in the realm. It is said to be protected by spells woven in its very walls that prevent magic from affecting it or passing through it. Storm's End is surrounded by a massive outer curtain wall, 100 feet high and 40 feet thick on its thinnest side and nearly 80 feet thick on its seaward side. It is composed of a double course of pale grey stone with an inner core of sand and rubble. The wall is smooth and curving, the stones so well placed and so perfectly together that the wind can find no purchase. On the seaward side there is a 150-foot drop below the wall into the sea, and there is no safe anchorage by the castle. The curtain wall protects the castle's kitchens, stables, and yard. Storm's End has only one tower, a colossal drum crowned with formidable battlements, so that from a distance enemies can see what appears to be a single huge spiked fist thrusting towards the sky in defiance. The tower is so large that it comfortably contains the granary, barracks, armory, feast hall, and lord's chambers all at once. The seaward side of the castle stands upon Durran's Point, a high white cliff overlooking the sea. There is a watery passage through a cavern that leads beneath the castle, protected by portcullis, bars, and murder holes. The godswood of Storm's End has a weirwood heart tree carved with a solemn face. The words of House Baratheon are, "Ours is the fury." Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy music as much as lore, be sure to visit Scriva Cantina 24/7 music livestream on this channel. Scriva Cantina, a tavern that's always open. See ya!